Hi, and welcome to Sinatra CRUD app episode 7. In the previous episodes, we've created a fully functional RESTful CRUD app with all 7 RESTful actions. In this one, we're going to add some error handling to the create and the update action and some other conveniences for our users. Just like in some of the previous episodes, I've pre-written some ERB here, and it's in the app views layout ERB file. That's going to be rendered on each one of our actions, so it's going to be helpful to have our errors spit out if there are any, but we want to protect against if this is nil. So that's what all this is doing, and feel free to pause it to add that code and then come back. The rest of the time we're going to be working strictly in the controller. Before we jump into coding, we're going to find out why this error handling is needed, particularly for our end users. So if we go to create a new contact and we leave all the fields blank, we have a validation on our email that says it must be present. So if we try to create a contact, we'll see that on the front end, from our user's perspective, it's going to look like nothing went wrong to them, except their contact is not going to be there, right? There's no empty contact there. And if we look at the server side, there was a rollback here. Essentially, the contact was not created because they weren't valid. Now, instead of not telling our users anything and just redirecting them the same way we do when it normally happens, we want to report the error to both the user and the browser. So we'll start with the create action, and we'll fix that and provide better error reporting. So when we come into create, what we have been doing is creating the contact and then redirecting straight to contacts. And in the case that this is successful, we want to do the exact same thing. And what we're going to do is check to see if our contact is valid. If that's the case, we're going to do what we did before. If that's not the case, we're going to assume there must have been an error. And the first thing we're going to do is set the status code to 422. Now, that's going to tell the browser or the developer that's looking at the browser that it was an input error, essentially. This stands for unprocessable entity. It means that whatever was given to us for a contact, we're not going to process it. We don't consider it valid. The next thing that I'm going to do to report errors to the people that are using it is we're going to use active records errors that they provide, and then they have a method called full messages that just puts it into an array of strings that's easy for us to use. And then the last thing that we're going to do where these errors are reported is going to be on the form that the user just tried to fill out to give them another chance to fill it in with the correct information now that we've given them feedback. So now with these changes, let's give it another shot trying to create a new user. Okay, so now if we try to do the same thing, we hit create contact with nothing filled in. Instead of the redirect, what's going to happen is we're going to see the same form, and this time there's going to be an error at the top that says email can't be blank. So now our user has something to go on. And also look, in the developer console, we see that the status came back as 422. So that means if we have a JavaScript developer or another developer that's trying to debug what's going on, this is going to communicate to either the browser, the developer, whoever it is, what went wrong. Beyond just the human readable error that we put out here. Now that we've seen that worked, we can take a very, very similar approach with the update action. So I'm going to take the code that we've used and move it down to the update action here. Now again, the setup is going to be the same. We still want to find a contact, attempt to update that contact, and then we're just going to check. If it worked correctly, then we want to do exactly what we were doing before, which is redirect to that contact's show page. So we need to make this change compared to the create action. So we'll paste that there. And then the only difference that we need to change here is that it needs to be the edit form instead of the new form. So after making that update, we'll come in and we'll try to edit one of our contacts. Let's go back and get a good number. Let's edit number 15. And again, if you don't have an ID 15, pick one that you see in your list here. So let's try to blank out John's email. We'll try to update this contact, and we'll see if we get the same type of result. So we got the 422, and it looks like there's the email can't be blank. So it's similar in behavior to the create action, where it tells the user what went wrong, and it also tells the computer what went wrong. We're going to do one more thing for convenience for our users. You'll notice that I had to go to look at the list of contacts, find an ID, and then manually type in the edit route up in the browser. And instead, what we want is just to have an edit link in here, just like we have a show and a delete link. So the way that we're going to do that, we are going to edit the view for index. And we already have the show and the delete. So we're just going to insert an edit link in here as well. And it's going to be very similar to our show link. So I'm going to start with that, copy and paste. The only difference is I need it to be /edit at the end. And then we can change what the user sees to edit as well. Now, if we refresh this page, we'll see that not only can we show and delete each user from the index, but we should be able to edit them as well. So we'll go ahead and edit John again. And we'll make sure that this works just like it did before. So we'll just change this to .NET. We'll update the contact. It should be successful. It should redirect us to the index page, and we should see the update reflected for John's entry. Oh, no, I'm sorry. We redirected to the show page. We still see the update here. And then if we go back to the index page, we'll see it reflected there as well. And there's our update. Okay, so that's going to wrap up our addition of error handling and convenience for our users. Just like the end of all the other episodes, we'll check our Git status and we will add these changes and commit them. So that wraps it up for our Sinatra series. In some ways, we've just scratched the surface in creating a CRUD application. There's a lot more you can do with error handling, with adding more models. There's a lot more complexity. But in some ways, we've built the fundamental baseline, a very, very good starting point. So you can use what we've created here as a starting point for any of your Sinatra applications, and even as reference for other languages and frameworks that you use where you want to implement RESTful routing. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.